Wow.
The good old trade deadline.
The good old trade deadline.
Never
Trade
heard
already
like
happened.
Never hurt anyone.
What's up, everybody, and welcome into our trade deadline special.
Let's go.
Not afraid.
I traded it for 2 second-round picks.
Well, looking forward to using those later on. I don't know. I guess we're presented by DraftKings. I got the squad with me over here. We're going to go in order of optimist to pessimist, and I'm going to start with Brendan Vogt.
Still feeling good. Number one team in the West. Best player in the league. They're the team everyone else had to catch up with. There are better teams out there going forward. Beat the best to be the best, baby. Let's do this.
I know you mean business today because you put on real shoes.
That's right.
Holy
dude.
smokes.
Left the Subus at home. Socks and everything, too.
Super.
Wow.
Moving down just a slightly in terms of optimism, I got Harrison Wind.
Yeah, I'm definitely more optimistic than D-line.
Yeah?
That's not saying much, though.
Yeah?
I don't know. Maybe by the end of the show, I'll be as optimistic as Vote.
Let's talk ourselves up, man. Let's talk ourselves into it.
I've got hope.
And then representing the doom and gloom of the show, it's D-line.
Listen, I don't have doom and gloom for the Denver Nuggets. I cannot believe the trade that I am so beside myself.
It doesn't feel good.
I am so beside myself right now.
It doesn't feel good. Like, not that feelings mean everything. We talked a lot about when the Nuggets are in the position that they're in. A lot of times, you lose the press conference. The trades you make are not the ones that are like fun or exciting. When you're a young team, man, every prospect's exciting. You just talk yourself into what they could be.
Totally.
At this stage, it's not. That being said, to recap what's happened today is still a little bit surprising. The first move of the day, Thomas Bryant is traded to the Denver Nuggets at the cost of one Davon Reed, basically a zero for the Nuggets. He wasn't playing.
Friend of the show, but
nobody wanted him to be in a rotation in any capacity. And then 3 second-round picks. Just toss those things.
Yeah, those are worthless. Who wants those?
Yeah. 3 potential Nikola Jokic's?
Wow.
Wow, I can't believe it. 3 second-round picks. And they get Thomas Bryant. The second move of the day, also with Los Angeles, this time with the Clippers, sending Bones Hyland to the Clippers and receiving 2 second-round picks, those being the Clippers picks in 23 and 25. In the 23, likely to be, the 50th pick. I mean, it's going to be a top 10 record team, so it'll probably be around 50th. Harrison, let me start with you. Where do you want to start with these two? Just your general sense of those two moves. Are you surprised, and what's your first thought with them?
I mean, the Thomas Bryant move is the more important one. The Bones Hyland one is the one that everybody's going to react to more, probably.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's kind of what the deal is. But I mean, we should probably start with the Bones move. I mean, that's the bigger news of the day, I think. And look, I'm not surprised that he was moved. He hasn't played for over a week. It's been obvious the writing has been on the wall. And to get 2 second-round picks back for him, that's like nothing. It's as low of a trade return as I could have thought they would get.
Mike Muscala package.
Yeah, it's pretty much nothing. And I mean, what you have to take from that is the Nuggets are just done with him. They went into this trade deadline thinking our best option with his situation is to trade him, to just rid ourselves of him and to just kind of end this story now, not let this become a distraction the rest of the year. I mean, it's been clear to me that Michael Malone lost trust in him on the court. I don't think Calvin Booth viewed him as a piece going forward, and just a lot of the stuff that's happened, I feel like over the last week and last month has even lowered his trade value from where it was. So it sucks, but I think in this situation, you kind of just got to trust Calvin Booth and trust the organization and think that, for a championship team, this is a move that Calvin Booth felt like had to be made.
Right.
This is just what he thought business had to be done.
The idea of trust in Calvin Booth, he's new. This just goes, his list of moves is very short. They've been great. KCP was great. Bruce Brown was great. Christian Brown has been great. this is the first one that, like, when it first happens, you're kind of like, I guess the Christian Brown move, I think a lot of when it happened, and even at Summer
DeAndre
League.
Jordan signing was
DeAndre Jordan sign as well. But I'm just saying, that's like such a small move, though.
Sure, just
But
saying,
you're right.
it was the first.
But is it a bad move? Honestly, in
The
hindsight.
DeAndre Jordan
yeah.
signing? After the Thomas Bryant trade, I think it's fine. Like, I mean,
But
Malone,
has it cost Denver this year? Like, he's been.
not really. No, I mean,
You know what I mean? Like,
no.
what sucked about that move is it happened right away, and
was
it
the
felt
first
like
move,
it felt.
so it
but
was
but the truth is, they brought in a guy who's been a good mentor on a veteran minimum, who's had
I
almost
agree
no impact on the
I'm glad
on-court
he's still
stuff.
on the roster and
Yeah.
not playing.
But either way, it doesn't matter. We don't have to argue that point. I'm just saying the Christian Brown one was the one that maybe didn't feel great early on, and then now has felt really good. But this is the first time, like, now you make a move and it's like, man, nothing feels right at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. So, man, I get it. Like, Bones clearly wanted to be traded. Like, there was obviously things happening behind the scenes that we're not privy to, that can't be ignored. There's things that are personal. I mean, I don't know the whole story. We don't know the entire story, but I mean, obviously, this trade shows you that it was they both felt like they were in a situation they couldn't move on from. I mean, I don't know. The one thing that I can look to is that it does open up a roster spot, and we will be in a place to talk about the buyout market. As far as just like asset management, like, I mean, I'm sick. I'm absolutely sick. Like, they had a player in Bones that they hit on late in the draft, which is a rarity, or at least it's if not a rarity, it's not common.
The rookie Rising Stars game, he made it both years, which tells you roughly he's in the top 10 of the class.
Yeah, and
in terms of performing what he's done so far.
Yes, and they essentially traded that for what will amount to the 50th pick, the 2 years in a row. Like, so they gave him. I mean, they just cut bait. Completely. They got absolutely nothing back of value, and my contention this entire time is that we really need depth more than anything, and having now the point guard core for the Denver Nuggets consists of one guy that's not actually a true point guard in Bruce Brown, and then Ish Smith and Jamal Murray. It's like I don't feel great about that. Like, I we'll see what comes with the buyout market, but the saga and the story of Bones Hyland in Denver is going to be a tragic one for you. Like, we're going to look back on this. It's just one, even if he doesn't succeed elsewhere, it's just the way this all went is just it's a bummer.
It is possible, you're right, that he becomes an RJ Hampton, like, where it's just
it's totally possible.
You're kind of like, well, I hate to see what he becomes in a few years. And then you're like, well, he actually never even got on the court.
It's entirely possible. I mean, Bones Hyland is by no means a sure thing. He looked incredible coming out of last year. He's looked very shaky for the most of this year, and the fact that he was like that there was clearly some sort of trouble in the locker room does not speak well for his future. But that
trouble is big. Like, you keep saying, not privy to this or that. I mean, there have been a lot of stories that have either come out publicly or have obviously been shared with Wind or myself or with Vote here over the last few weeks. It's very clear, and this is why over the last week, it's been, on the bench he's looked happy and this or that. Like, that stuff to me is window dressing. Like, guys that can sit next to each other on a bench or something is different from some conflicts. Wind, go ahead. You want to chime in on it?
No, no. Go ahead.
I'm just saying that
to me it's more the MPJ, the people the players coming out and emphatically saying that they're in his corner,
right?
The MPJ and
but here's the thing about
Jordan.
roster building in the NBA. It's not just about, like, do these pieces, are they good pieces? It's all about, do they fit? And it's not even just about, do they fit on the court? It's, do they fit timelines? Do they fit personality, opportunity? Like, you're competing. At the end of the day, you're both part of a team working together, but also competing with each other for opportunity.
Sure.
And I think that Bones had a little bit of that. And then, look, I do think that this is very clearly a situation that came to a head where I don't think Denver does this if it's like,
if they thought it was salvageable.
if it's Vlatko Chanchar, and they're just like, well, we're not using him, so we should move him for this to me feels like they were like, we have to do something.
Was not some of the reporting for the last 3 days, well, actually, they don't have to, and if the returns are so bad, they won't do it. Now we're just dropping that line.
Do you know what that was, though?
Smoke?
Yeah, trying to get
BS.
that price, trying to get the price up.
Sure,
I mean,
sure. But let's just
Which is
let's
fair.
just acknowledge that, though. I want to say it's a bad return. Now, Bones plays a large role in this being a bad return.
Right.
Like Bones, we've learned this was a two-way street. The desire to move on to some extent. So Bones plays a huge role in this. When he left the floor early,
And then left the arena.
he did damage to his value, right? So this is not all the Nuggets on the Nuggets front office.
No.
But there's a bottom line to evaluating the return. Where were we with Bones a year ago? If I told you 2 seconds for Bones, you'd be like, what happened?
yeah,
Exactly.
you'd be like something terrible happened.
Something terrible
And indeed, something did. I mean, I likened this. I think 2 weeks ago when it first started to bubble up, I likened it to the Nurkic situation. I said this one feels more like Nurkic than it does Beasley or any of these other ones, where it's like this is headed for an unhappy ending. And what happened with Nurkic? You had to include a first-round pick to get back Mason
Right,
Plumlee.
right.
You essentially gave up the best player and a pick
Yeah.
to get back just because you had to get out of a situation. And it just feels the same for Denver, that this is one where Denver, and maybe they are proven right, the same way they were proven right by making that trade with Nurkic. We still think they should have gotten something better out of Nurkic. Like he was a good enough player. But in the end, it still was like, yeah, but Denver was just needed to move on. And they got to that spot. By the way, the Hornets just made a trade. The Clippers just got Mason Plumlee.
Yep.
So
What?
and
they sent
at the
out- sent
cost
off Reggie
Jackson, which is interesting because I keep wondering is Bones even going to play for the Clippers? We'll get to that here in a little bit, but
Yeah.
I don't. Reggie Jackson going out the door maybe helps that. Luke Kennard going out the door maybe gives him an opportunity there.
I just think, more on like why the Nuggets felt like they could trade Bones for only 2 second rounders and really get nothing in return is because I don't think the Nuggets think that Bones Hyland would have played a role in them winning a championship this season. I don't think Mike Malone trusted him
That's
in the
biggest part of this.
playoffs. I don't think Calvin Booth trusted him as a core
Yeah.
important piece of this team moving forward. And if that's the case, like, yeah, you can make the argument of, oh, let's just keep him on the roster and not play him and then reassess in the summer. But the probably best thing to do is just get rid of it right now and just start clean. And look, you just have to evaluate every move the Nuggets make from the perspective of, does this help them win a championship this season? Does Bones Hyland help them win a championship this season?
Just 2 second-round picks.
I don't think he does. Could he hurt the Nuggets' chances at winning a championship this season? I think he could have.
Right.
I can't buy that. Like I watched him win a playoff game for the Denver Nuggets,
Yeah.
nearly single-handedly. Like he's not a different player. He's just like things have been. When we spoke to him, he talked about just having insecurity in what his role was, what he was supposed to be doing, sharing the floor with Jamal. Listen, I don't view Bones Hyland as the answer to the Denver Nuggets in the playoffs. I just think that, to me, at the end of the day, like this boils down to just like terrible asset management, like just having something of value and flipping it for absolutely nothing in a place at a time where truly like depth is going to be something that is going to be required. I mean, it has been proven to us beyond a shadow of a doubt in the last 2 years, like depth is very important when you head into the playoffs. If you lose somebody gets injured, whatever, you need to have some other people be able to step up. We'll see if they address it in the buyout market. I mean, I am obviously leaving room open here to see, what further moves happen. If this just happened, if like it's just this way, and Max, don't go away. If I'm being emotional, like, get out of the chat. I'm explaining, like, a lot of people feel this way. Like they just need, like, if they don't address the hole that's left and don't get any depth back, I'm going to consider this a massive failure. This is like a deal that could easily be made in the offseason. There's no reason to push this right now unless there is. And again, I'm leaving complete room open to let's see what happens.
Do you think even if we don't know the degree to what this distraction was? People like Michael Porter Jr. did come out and say they support him, but is it possible that the Nuggets did view it as, hey, it's way more likely to be an anchor on us than just a nothing?
It could be. I mean, listen, that I am not privy to anything that goes on in the locker room. It could absolutely be that way. I mean, this hints that that's what it is that they like this is a move that has urgency to it that feels fabricated, and so you got to think that obviously there's a lot more to the story. I just, from a pure, like, looking at a basketball team standpoint, like, I just hate giving up something of value for something of no value.
How much of this do you think has to do with the shift from Tim Connelly to Calvin Booth? Meaning, I don't think Calvin Booth would have picked Bones 2 years ago.
Right.
And part of that, I honestly think there's something to this. Like, if you look at Tim Connelly, he did a lot of great things, obviously, for Denver. I don't like the revisionist history. Like, the starting lineup outside of KCP was a Tim Connelly-built team. But if you look at, like, Bol when he drafted him, I remember the thought was, man, he could be incredible. But does Denver need incredible right now? And isn't it more likely that it's just going to be, like, ambiguous whether or not you should keep him or this or that? And I wonder if Bones Hyland was the same play where part of the risk when you take a player like that isn't just are they going to hit or are they not, but it's also like, is it going to work out from a patient standpoint? And like Christian Brown is not gunning for Jamal Murray's role.
I would think even before the rift or perceived rift or whatever, Booth probably had a fundamentally different perspective on Bones as a prospect than Tim. And then there's also the added element of, you know, Tim will trade guys, but Tim treats players like people and not assets. That's not to imply that Calvin is. I'm going to finish the point. But that, like, he may not have... There's, like, a human element to Tim. Oh, I want this to work out, right? And that can be for better or worse. So he may have had a different perspective on the whole thing. And I do think... Like
players like Malik Beasley, it's kind of a miracle in hindsight that he didn't become as disgruntled as, say, Bones is right now.
Yeah.
It just nothing ever happened with
Porter
that.
said that after the game. You know, he said there have been guys here who are good players, good offensive players. Jeremy Grant, Malik Beasley. But what we're doing in Denver isn't congruent with their aspirations. That's the case here. But I also think it's probably true that from day one, Booth probably viewed Bones a little differently than Connelly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so as well. Looking at the roster now, it is pretty. I think Calvin Booth's fingerprints are all over it at this very moment. I mean, even Davon Reed, you know, being gone now, you look at this roster and think, this is pretty much all his roster.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say? Is there any lingering pieces of this that are holdovers?
Well, I mean, Nikola Jokic is Tim Connelly, of course.
No,
so is Jamal Murray.
I don't mean brought in. I don't mean brought in. I just mean guys that he likes. Like Nikola Jokic, every GM would like. Aaron Gordon, I think every GM would like. I'm just saying that we think of Calvin Booth, his stated goal for this team has been like Jokic, Murray, and a bunch of defensive-minded guys with size and length. And that's kind of what's left. Yeah. Like the players that didn't fit that are no longer on the roster. And it's like, okay, well.
I mean, I got to say, I really like the Thomas Bryant move.
Okay.
I do.
Let's get into it now.
Thomas Bryant I started off the day like hyped. Like I was like, okay, cool. Like this is the backup five is another. Those are the two areas of need that we've been talking about all season. Backup five, and more recently for me anyway, was the backup one. And Thomas Bryant's the only center in the NBA that I saw like really get over on Nikola Jokic this year, other than maybe Joel Embiid. But like Thomas Bryant is like a quality player. And like to get that as your backup five, I mean that's
so he's on an expiring contract. You know, like this clearly seems like a right out the season type move, but nonetheless,
I mean, I like the player. Like I like the player. It actually creates a little bit more or less confusion at that.
Does it?
That position? I think that well, I guess you're right.
Let me disagree with you in one way on that last part because I'm with you. I like Thomas Bryant and he provides something that Denver didn't have, which is a true center. A true backup center. Exactly. That's not DeAndre. I mean, that is more of just like he can do some stuff. He's not great defensively. In fact, I would say he's below average for a center defensively. And then offensively, he's above average. He's really good. But here's the thing, Harrison, and I'm curious your thought on this. The idea of the Zeke-Vlatko combo was you could switch everything. You were very switchy, and you're a defensive-minded lineup. I look at it now and I go, Denver either sticks with that and Brian collects DNPs all the time or some of the times. You mix it up where sometimes you go to Thomas Bryant, sometimes you don't, and then like Malone's never really been good at that, so I kind of am skeptical of it. Or you play Zeke at the 4, but you've lost the switchability. So is it as good of a defensive lineup? Like is his value the fact that he allows you to switch everything, and once you move him off that, it's no longer valuable?
Yeah, that is his value. His value is as a defender. And it's funny, we saw that all defense lineup a couple games ago when it was just like Zeke and Bruce Brown and KCP.
Quick trade here that pisses me off. The Blazers are trading Gary Payton II to The Warriors.
He just goes right back.
He just goes right back to the Warriors for 5 second-round picks.
What is the deal with second-round picks this season?
I hate
They're
this.
like Bitcoin. They have no value.
No, that's so true. They're just
They're just whatever you want
Dude,
them
like
to be.
this is the most astounding number of second-round picks I've ever seen.
But more
traded.
importantly, like Gary Payton was so good for the Warriors last year. They won that freaking championship with him on the court in the clutch against the Celtics.
The Blazers got off Gary Payton 2 to get Kevin Knox.
That's so.
Is that a tax move?
Are they tearing
Is
it
that just a
down?
tax
It
move?
might be
They're
a
tearing it
tear
down.
Has
They're
to
tearing
be,
it
right?
down.
They're all of their moves. We'll get to other teams' moves here in a bit because there's a lot. But I just wanted to interject because that one bums me out. The Warriors, you worried about them making moves, and here they are, bringing the old
we'll
band
see.
back together.
We'll see. No, Zeke's value was as a switchable backup 5. I think Thomas Bryant's just a flat out better player, though. And I think he's going to be the backup center.
Yeah.
I mean, Thomas Bryant, like, he has the highest true shooting percentage in the NBA. He's the only player in the NBA with at least 60 dunks in under 900 minutes. He's the athletic lob threat. I think that the Nuggets were hoping DeAndre Jordan was going to be this season.
Something to that, yeah.
That he just hasn't been.
That'd be great for both.
And so, I mean, I just think this move for Thomas Bryant, it fills what has been the biggest hole on the Nuggets roster all season. Backup center. I mean, how many hours have we spent on these
lot.
couches talking about backup center?
It's true.
It was nauseating. I hated it. Now the Nuggets,
Do you
I
like
think,
this show?
have a backup center. I think Zeke Naji has played well. I don't think what he's done has like locked him in as the Nuggets backup 5 in the playoffs. I don't think he's played to that level. I just think Thomas Bryant's better.
Is he more useful in the regular season or postseason?
To me, it's that it gives them the opportunity to play big or play small. Like they have those situations where you're like, okay, we're going up against a big man. We need to bring in DeAndre Jordan. Now that can be Thomas Bryant. And if they want to be more dynamic, have that switchability, then they still have Zeke. I mean, to start the day, I was like, oh, hell yes. Like, I like this move. This is good. This is cool. Like, I'm just gut punched right now. Like I'm having a hard time. But I really do. I do like what we got there.
Do you buy though? Because I'm with you, Eric. That in principle, this gives you multiple looks. Malone has never been good at like, oh, I have multiple choices to make with a rotation.
He like kind of tried to do it with Jordan Zeke / maybe said that more than he actually did it. He kind of like switched
It's so
from one
true.
option to the
Yeah.
other. So I don't know. Is it possible that Zeke just plays power forward for once?
I know, but we were just talking about this defensively. It takes a little bit of the bite off of it. If
little
you have
bit.
especially if it's a bad defensive center.
Yeah,
Also,
a little
like,
bit.
yeah,
a little bit.
You'd probably rather have like Vlatko play that or like I was thinking
Maybe.
I was thinking last
I
night
like
like
Vlatko.
the
other option's Jeff.
Yeah.
Defensively,
the
that's
ideal bench lineup is, in my view, is I guess Jamal at the
Yes.
one.
Okay.
Then,
That's what everybody forgets about the bench. Like Jamal Murray staggering with the bench.
But he can't play the entire time. Like they're gonna have.
think about a playoff game, though. That's what I would think about.
So it's Jamal and then Bruce Brown at the 2, Christian Brown at the 3, and then I would go Vlatko at the 4, and now Thomas Bryant at the 5.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
You think Michael Malone agrees with it?
I think at times. I mean, I think that
He's never played Vlatko though. Like this is the thing. We're predicting him to do something he's never done.
He's gonna play Jeff.
Played Vlatko all season.
Well, yeah, but when people have been hurt and like he's never played him over Jeff Green and over Zeke Naji. He's
He played him over Jeff Green in one game recently.
But I'm just saying, like, it has never been we need a power forward. I have 3 options. Vlatko is my guy over those other 2. I'm with you, though, because I like Vlatko a lot. I just think he's good. He does a lot of two-way stuff.
He's been great lately.
And I like Zeke as well. I worry it might be Jeff.
Me too, man. If we're going like, what does Malone really want to do in his heart of hearts? He wants to.
I don't know. We saw Jeff get supplanted the last couple games. I
He has.
I feel like that tide has turned a little bit.
It might have.
It's possible.
It's possible.
I believe that.
I'll be cautiously optimistic that the
Fingers
Titans
crossed.
are there.
I think
Not
it's true.
holding my breath.
Are the Nuggets better than they were 24 hours ago?
Yeah, they are.
I think they are too.
They absolutely are.
I think they are.
I mean, Thomas Bryant, I think, is a significant upgrade at backup center.
I agree.
And I really don't think losing Bones Hyland makes them any worse. I don't. Especially if you're talking about this team in the playoffs.
He wasn't playing, right?
Yeah, no, he
24 hours
wasn't.
ago, he was DNP.
It doesn't. To me, they have gotten better with the team that they're going to put out on the floor because Bones Hyland was not going to be that guy. It just always comes back to
He was
depth.
either going to be a distraction or a nothing.
Yeah.
But he was not going to be a positive bench.
To me,
thing.
it's depth and asset management that I hate. But like that's not necessarily the conversation for right now. Like the Nuggets are better than they were yesterday for sure.
Yeah, because Bones wasn't playing. You know, I don't even think you can think about Bones's value to the team. A, he played poorly. B, it's been DNPs for a couple of weeks.
I
so-
also
See,
think
he kind of did this to himself.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
also.
yeah.
I mean, oh, for sure. I don't
Well,
want to
that
make this
part.
sound like solely
Yeah.
on this or that.
He's got a lot of blame in this too.
A lot of blame, probably a majority of it, to be honest.
for bringing down a lot of his value too.
Yeah, like sometimes. I mean, same way happened to
gonna
Nurkic.
be-
Like when Nurkic spiraled out,
Yo.
it was like, oh well, he's good. You get something for him, and by the end, you're like, well, this just sucks. And
We're going to be talking about this for years. I promise. This will be
for years,
I predict we won't.
I predict
I don't.
we
I don't think we will.
I think that we will. I really do. I think what this is going to have, like, this is going to be a just chatter in the Nugget sphere for a long time. I do.
I mean, Bones Hyland at best this season was going to be the Nuggets' 8th best player in the playoffs.
He's not been playing well.
Maybe their 7th on his best night.
But, I mean, think about how we felt about him at the end of last year.
Oh,
especially-
absolutely.
I don't think that what we're seeing now is the apex of Bones Hyland. Right now, it's like we're seeing him at his nadir.
Totally.
And we are judging him at his current status with the team, not just what
Yeah.
kind of player he is. So it's like I don't know. We'll see what happens, obviously, but
Just a live chat. Yeah.
Just had somebody text me. I haven't heard from him in 15 years. A hilarious
Nuggets.
text. I'll just to share off screen. All right, so that's where we are with the Nuggets here. I don't know. I personally don't know that they're better. I think that they're equal. I will say this: when we talked about the Bones piece of all of this, when Bones got removed, the Nuggets went 3-0. They lost the one game where they didn't play anyone, where they so they went 3-1 technically. But when they had their guys, they've been 3-0, and they've been 3 of the most impressive games of the year. I do think it is underrated in the NBA when a team knows who they are and moves forward cohesively. It's like really, really valuable. And I think the symbolic removal of Bones from the rotation at all, just to where it's like you knew going in he was not playing, there was just something too. Denver had a little bit extra to give over these last few games, culminating with what was arguably their best game they've played all year. So I do wonder that. I wonder if Thomas Bryant complicates that a little bit. If now we go into a new era of like, what are we? Who plays?
We've been through the backup center position battle before.
And it wasn't.
We're
pretty.
ready for this.
And it wasn't pretty, but you know
It was
what?
not pretty.
I mean, like, I'm open to tinkering with the bench, man.
It might. There might.
Tinker away.
And it is the time. Like I do like that they made this deadline before the All-Star break, and now you get like to come back and have a few practices before. So basically, that'll be the real reset on the season. Lastly, the Nuggets have an open roster spot.
Yep.
And there's going to be a lot of players that now you can add in that. So, I mean, I imagine there's going to be a handful of buyout candidates. Russell Westbrook, the biggest name.
Well, the 3 biggest names are probably all point guards.
Who are they?
Russell Westbrook, John Wall, who's probably going to get bought out, and Patrick Beverly.
oh my god, dude, what?
Those are the 3 biggest names I've seen so far.
None of those
rumored.
seem like Denver guys to me.
They're not.
That's because they're not.
But I mean, even like targeted, and,
Yeah.
like I would be pretty surprised. I know Eric is worried about Westbrook.
I'm very worried about getting Westbrook ending up on this team.
That is not a unit for Russell Westbrook.
No, that would
Yeah,
be
there's
horrendous.
a unit for Russell Westbrook is in China.
Michael Malone, how are the vibes this year? I don't think they've ever been higher. Russell Westbrook. See what happens.
Oh man, that would be a rough one. I don't know, but there's other guys I think that are going to pop up, and Denver having an open roster spot to me is meaningful. Like them
Yeah,
having
it's a
the
big
ability
part
To
of
me,
add
Yeah,
something.
I think
of the
that
Bones
probably is a lot of the motivation here is just clearing a space for someone else to come in.
Should we pour one last one out for Bones?
Yes.
He really was a fun player, man. And there were some highs. To your point, Game 4 against the Golden State Warriors was an all-timer. The game against the 76ers last year was an all-timer. There were multiple games at Ball Arena where he just had the crowd unbelievable. He was a great character. I mean, sincerely, he was a really great character, like just to fans, the way he was with fans. And he represented... I think Bones Hyland will officially go down as a character that existed in our purgatory stage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh man, he got us through last year. Well, Nikola Jokic
Was
also
he-
won another MVP,
Is it
but
Virgil? who takes you through Purgatorio? Nobody.
This is not
Has
my
nobody,
territory.
Has nobody read? You read books.
Not that
Is this
one.
Dante?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Do you guys
haven't read it.
remember?
No.
He's the one that stewards you through. You know.
I'll take
You
your word
guys-
for it.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, maybe he
Sounds
was
right.
that
On
for
the
us.
on the River Bones.
The River Bones. You guys have anything to say about him? We eulogize him here in Denver.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really cool. It was brief, but the connection he had with the fan base, or at least tried to foster, and to what extent people felt that or not, like that's so few people do that. So few players do that in the modern NBA, and there's just a growing disconnect in my eyes between the fans and the people on the team and the team itself. And so Bones, the way he fought for that and cared about it and was willing to come here and do this and talk to people, the dog park thing, like he was in Mr. Nugget, not
Yeah,
because he was
right.
our guy,
Yeah.
because he had earned it.
He had
And
earned it. He was just such a vibes guy.
So I think he's a really talented player. I don't know what his career will be. We'll find out, but I'm going to miss him in Denver regardless.
Yeah.
The brightest timeline, which we talk about often, would have included him playing well in Denver. It's not what we got. Onward, but, I'll appreciate Bones. Mile High City, baby.
Yeah. So, we had a deal with Bones.
Made some
But that is-
shirts, had a burger.
Right. But that has nothing to do with the way that I feel about him as a player, the way that I feel about him, what he brought to the Denver Nuggets. I mean, we've said this a lot of times, like Bones is somebody that plays with joy. Bones is somebody that understands and embraces the entertainment side of basketball, which is like oddly rare in the NBA. He's somebody that sort of like gets the concept of the fan connection and what it means to have like a meaningful relationship with the city that you live in. And he
Right.
really made a concerted effort to do that. He is one of the only players that will like talk to us and like will acknowledge like this side of the world, which is, like a big thing. I mean, it's like a cool connection to have that real pipeline into the team from a player standpoint. So I'm going to miss that a lot. Like Bones Hyland to me is somebody that is transcendently talented. He's able to shoot in a way that is just so rare in the NBA. I felt like he just lost his way quite a bit, and he was playing in a way that didn't make sense to him, pressing a lot, trying to do things that were out of character. And in the end, it like really soured the relationship on both sides, clearly. I really enjoyed having Bones on the team. I like vibey players. I enjoy the vibes of, like screaming out Mile High City and all of that. Mile High City, baby. Like, I'll miss that. It's a bummer. And again, like, I don't think I'm not overvaluing Bones, thinking like he is the secret to the Nugget success. How will we ever get by without Bones on this team? It's nothing like that. But I absolutely cannot stand giving up value for nothing, especially on the Nuggets. You see a team that's been built, not bought. This thing has been built painstakingly over a period of 5, 6, 7, 8 years now.
Yeah.
And anytime you ship out a piece and get nothing in return, it just hurts that progress. It's a missed step. So for that reason, like I'm bummed, but Bones is great and we'll miss him. I'm sure he's going to torch us at some point in time and it's going to be miserable.
Yeah, I mean, the coolest part about Bones, and I feel like the reason why a lot of people just connected with him was because Bones was real. He's a real person, and like you knew exactly the type of person he was, I feel like, and what he was thinking and where he was at, because he was just real about it, and that's so rare in the NBA. It was one of his greatest strengths, but it was also part of his downfall here, I think. I mean, he got into it with coaches on the sidelines.
Yep.
Like, that realness of him
Yep.
went the other direction, too.
Keeping it real goes wrong.
Yeah. And I mean, he is really young and he's got a lot to learn. And I bet when he'll even reflect back on his experience in Denver, he'll admit that he could have done things better here.
A la Bobo.
Yes.
Probably. And so, yeah, I mean, he was a great personality. He was a great character for this team. And he provided us with just some like awesome Nuggets moments. Some awesome memories of his play.
So let's move on now to what I feel like for Denver. These moves are significant, but part of me also feels like they're insignificant.
Yeah.
Like they're small. We're talking about some margin stuff here. I mean,
Yeah.
For sure.
all of the stuff we said I think is true. Asset management, this or that. But the truth is, Denver's title odds in terms of their upside don't change very much this year. Going forward, I don't even know how much it changes. But other teams got a lot better today. And we have to start nowhere else than actually what happened last night, which is with the Phoenix Suns acquiring Kevin Durant for 4 first unprotected draft picks, basically their entire future, and Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. Now, I actually think this is a great trade, like a fair trade. It's rare, I feel, that there is trades where you kind of go, that actually is equal value. 4 first unprotected picks plus 2 championship caliber players is really, really good return. But that being said, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Kevin Durant. That's a hell of a top 4. Probably the best top 4 in all of the NBA. Vote. You get to go first here. How good is this team, and what do you make of this deal?
They're as good as advertised. They're instant just add water contender favorites tier. They are one of the teams to beat. I think all season we've looked out west and thought there's no team there's teams some of us fear.
Right.
There's no team that you definitively say, that's like Denver can't hang. There's a team now. This is the closest. Some people will make that argument. I would argue that I would feel about 50% worse about this if it had happened in the summer,
right,
and they had all season to figure this out. I do think even with a player of Durant's caliber, it's difficult to win a title at the deadline.
Right.
And those aren't small pieces, Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. They're
Right.
good defenders. They're corner
They're the 2 biggest glue guys on the team.
They're best defenders. They're 3-point corner shooters. They're guys that have been a part of specifically why Phoenix gives Denver a hard time. So this isn't, it's not like Denver can't beat these guys. Denver was the best team in the league with arguably the best player in the league. This isn't, if Denver's the 3 seed and someone else gets KD, you're like, man, we just got pushed out. We're on the outside looking in. Denver is a team that had to be caught up with. Phoenix has done it. Phoenix is there, if not favorites. I would like to see the series. I would really like to see the series.
I mean, there's a good chance we're going to see it. I think, real quick, Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson are like KCP and Aaron Gordon. They're not
small pieces.
They're not small pieces that were just like,
dude, when the Suns lost Cam Johnson, that's when they first
they started to struggle. Yeah,
that's when they first started to struggle at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, well, also when when the full team was healthy, they were unbelievable. Wind, what's your instant reaction to that?
They're a beast. They're going to be really, really good. Like, they're going to be awesome, I think. I mean, that's a team that can definitely win a championship in just like 4 months together. I really think so. That being said,
can they be guarded is the question. Like you're talking about 4 offensive players.
Oh, they're incredible, man. It's an incredible starting lineup. I mean, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and D-line. Like, that's an incredible starting lineup. Yeah. Insert whoever you want there for your 5th player. It'd be pretty funny if it's still Torrey Craig.
It might be, honestly. Like, I think it actually is the best option.
Yeah. So no, I think they're going to be really, really good. I would still take the Nuggets into series right now. I don't think the Suns are going to be able to stop Denver.
Nope.
They are not going to have a prayer in stopping Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. We'll see if Denver can stop them. But, man, that could be a great Western Conference Finals. It really could be.
Could be a great first-round series also.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. So it's like if you put the starting lineup side by side, it's like, okay, KD, Nikola Jokic. You give maybe the slight edge to Jokic, but that's pretty much a tie.
Yeah, two top 3 players.
Yes. Then you go, okay, then you have Devin Booker and Jamal Murray. Like, at this moment in time, you give the slight edge to Devin Booker, but, like, those 2 players exist in the same world. Like, there's a chance that they at least get
We
even.
all believe Murray can reach the Booker level and even outplay him, and we all believe it.
Yes.
Nobody outside of Denver does.
Chris Paul maybe match up with KCP. Those 2 are probably somewhere even. Maybe KCP a little bit, I don't know, like more valuable at times. Like, you could say Chris Paul could get the
more
edge
valuable
there.
at times as well.
But he's on the. I mean, Chris Paul is not the player he's been. But yes, I understand what you mean.
We'll see. This is like earlier in the year I said LeBron's not the player he's been, and he's averaging.
He's
34
not
a
the
game.
well, he's not. But yes, and then you go Aaron Gordon, DeAndre Ayton. Like, do you maybe give the slight edge to Aaron Gordon? And then it's like that 5th position. Then you have Michael Porter Jr.
Right.
Michael Porter Jr. running essentially unopposed there. It's like, is it T.J. Warren? Michael Porter Jr. much better than T.J. Warren.
Or
is it Torrey Craig?
doesn't matter, yeah.
Like, this actually, in my mind, I was like, wow, this really highlights the idea that we've been talking about all year. Like, Michael Porter Jr. is the difference maker for the Denver Nuggets. Like, his role, in my mind, becomes even bigger. Like, that it could be where
he struggled with Mikal Bridges. Bridges guarded MPJ, I think, better than any player guards him. And losing him
better than Norman Powell.
That's huge. No, that's huge.
It really is.
The series maybe got
and
easier
because part of this is like none of those guys. I mean, some of this is you want to see how it shakes out. How does that chemistry? Because we know that you can't just have 3 top scorers. There's always a guy that's the third guy in touches and creation and everything else. And is that just going to be Chris Paul? And is he as valuable if he's like, well, it's not my turn? 3 out of 4 times it's not my turn. Is he valuable there? We'll have to wait and see. The thing you got at, though, and I think when this was your point, I've always said if Denver ever wins a championship in the Jokic era, it's going to be more like the 2014 Spurs, a team that just like so perfectly gets the most out of themselves. And the nature of the Suns guys, Booker, KD, Chris Paul, 2 things. They're really, really good one-on-one players or pick and roll, but trying to score one-on-one, trying to make something happen. And there's diminishing returns on that. It's really high when you have 2 of the best to do it. Like the returns are still really, really high. But they're also mid-range team. And I like what Wynn said here. They're going to make a lot of mid-range ISO jumpers on Denver.
Yep.
But if Denver is getting to the foul line, getting to the rim, and getting threes up, just keeping pace, even when you don't miss, is hard to do. And I think that is, if you're trying to talk yourselves into Denver against Phoenix, this team, you think they might shoot 70% in the first quarter, all on mid-range pull-ups. Denver shoots 65%, but is getting threes, free throws, and layups. And Denver's up 4 points, and they're sitting there thinking, like, I'm on fire, but we're down. And then you start to tweak things a little bit. Also, you're down 7 at the half and 10 at the third. And then, you know what?
The most encouraging thing to me is that the Denver Nuggets matched up against the Golden State Warriors not even a week ago. And the Golden State Warriors were on pace to set the NBA record in 3-point shots for a half. And the Denver Nuggets won that half.
Right.
The Denver Nuggets are unstoppable. There are so many. They are going to score every time down. The Suns have no hope to stop the Denver Nuggets. It's now just going to be an arms race between when they match up. And a lot of it, and why I was looking at this Thomas Bryant move is I think that the benches are going to have a lot more to say about the final outcome than maybe they would before.
That would be huge. That'd be huge for Denver if that's the case.
Yeah.
If they're just even in the playoffs, if they're just hey, that's a net positive, 2-point net positive over that stretch.
And I think you made the best point. I was thinking the same thing this morning. It's not like an abundance of the guys that killed Denver in the number one way Denver is susceptible, right? Like it's some tough 2-point shot makers. It's just a little different than oh man, can they guard all of Golden State's perimeter guys?
Right.
I'm not being naive.
Right.
I really prefer that this had not happened. But this KD on this Suns team is not the most fear-inspiring or unstoppable team that we have seen in the last 5-6 years. They're not. They're a beatable group. And Denver is one of the teams. Denver's one of the few teams that even after these trades can look at Dallas and look at Phoenix and say, yeah, we can score with you. I don't know if you can score with us. I don't know.
And the way I'd put it, Eric, you were going 1 for 1, and I would almost say it's the worst way to look at Denver. I just think that Denver, as 5 guys at their peaks this year, including the first quarter of this last one, at 5 guys is greater than the sum of the parts, and the parts are really good. And I don't know that Phoenix is going to be a team that is that way. They're going to be really good because the parts are all worth a lot. They're all really, really good. But that to me is where Denver beat them. And this is why I say the 2014 Spurs. They smacked LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. If you just went 1 for 1 like that in that year, you probably would have said Miami. But in 2014, the Spurs were just so cohesive that they were better and it wasn't close. And to me, that's the vision here. If you buy Denver, you're buying them to be able to say they're going to look the same for 4 out of 7 games. They're going to probably every game, but they're going to look the same. And it's just going to be an assault that you plug one hole and another one pops up.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly agree with that. I mean, that is the one thing, the one contention I've had that we were talking about before. Should Kyrie Irving go to the Lakers? Does that suddenly make them dangerous for the Denver Nuggets? It's no, you can't just put together chemistry and have it work in the same way. But my point with going 1-for-1 is that you also can, like, if we're just talking about like
the talent
is not so much so that the balance just became swung completely out of sorts. Like the Denver Nuggets have comparable, if not better, talent on their starting lineup, and that's what we're talking about here: is starting lineup versus starting lineup. You know, it's the same thing every time you put a bunch of superstars together. It's like there's only one basketball. Like, how much more can the Phoenix Suns score than what they were doing before with adding Kevin Durant? Like, there can only be one shot that goes in per time down. So, I just, the Denver Nuggets are operating in such a machine-like fashion that I'm like, I am so thankful they didn't make any kind of move that affected the starting lineup. I mean, like that to me would have
weren't going to do that.
I know, but I'm saying like that would have been devastating. Like if you listen to just people that are very casually following the NBA and they're like, they got Kevin Durant. Why didn't the Nuggets get Kevin Durant? Why weren't everybody in? It's like, no, the Nuggets have figured out the perfect recipe for a perfect machine-like offense. And now it's like, okay, but that's why we are now in a place where we're talking about these the moves around the margins. Like, does Thomas Bryant make them better? Do they have somebody to run that second unit?
Margins.
All of this stuff.
It is worth noting that currently the Phoenix Suns are the 5 seed, but they're going to be without Kevin Durant for a while. You know, till after the All-Star break, maybe even a little bit longer, probably at least till after the All-Star break. They're the 5 seed, and they just lost 2 depth pieces. So it's not like, oh, KD's out, that's fine, they'll roll along. They're not going to have a very full roster for like 2 weeks.
They've got work to do.
They will be just the number 1 team for the buyout market, though. Like, everybody's going to want to go to Phoenix.
It's all right.
Everybody.
Well, and actually, they were talking on Basketball Illuminati yesterday. I was listening to it as I was driving in. They were talking about KD to Phoenix and what it would do. And the whole thing was every player in the NBA wants to be in Phoenix, and they've had a terrible owner. But now they have a new owner and they have KD, and it's like to your point, any veteran would be like, I'll go live in Phoenix for 1 year. That's going to be great.
NBA players love it.
NBA players love it out there. It's one of their favorite cities. So we'll see what happens. Let's talk about some of these other moves that have gone down today.
My God, do we have time?
I don't even know where to start. Where the most interesting ones are. The Bucks ended up with Jay Crowder. That was one that was always going to happen.
Can we just talk about the value of second-round picks this year?
5 of them for
What is going on?
What is going on what is happening with second-round picks?
I mean, but Jay Crowder to the Bucks. I know we're not worried about the Eastern Conference because if you make it to the finals, you're kind of, you're just pumped to be there or whatever. But that he's a good player. He's now been to the finals. What was it, 3 straight years or something like that?
Jay Crowder? Yeah. I mean, I was thinking like Jay Crowder wouldn't look bad in Denver.
Yeah, but he went to the Bucks, and I actually think if Denver were to meet up with the Bucks in a finals, that actually gives them a little bit of help against Denver specifically.
For sure. I mean, Jay Crowder's proven. He's tested. It's funny, when we were talking about Circle of Trust guys on this show last week, I said that, like, I'm not the biggest Jay Crowder guy, but if he was on the Nuggets, he'd be in my Circle of Trust immediately. He's just one of those guys who you trust in the playoffs. And
I think if you think about how would Milwaukee guard them, part of why I felt confident about Milwaukee, I know that's so far in the future, but I felt confident was I thought you can't play Giannis at center, which is where they're really like their death lineup. You can't play him there because he can't guard Jokic. And you can kind of like stack the paint against Giannis to where you're not going to stop him, but it's not especially valuable against Jokic the way it's other players are. So to me, I always felt good. But if you now say they would want to close, if they got into a series and Brook Lopez was played off the court, which I think there's a good chance that would happen, you would put Jay Crowder on Jokic and use Giannis on Aaron Gordon.
Yeah. And
that's like the best possible. When we talk about that Tucker Embiid thing, Giannis Crowder in that way is probably even more impactable.
Mm-hmm.
That feels harder to score over it.
That feels like future barbecue chicken, though. That feels like when they put Draymond on Jokic because that was their center, and it was like, oh man, he can't solve this smaller defender. And then it's like, no, he solved him. Just took a little bit, and then he figured it out.
It's not about solving him though; it's about solving Giannis.
But I mean, it's this type of thing, solving that look, that way to defend. Like there's always, for every move, there's a counter move, and I mean. Look no further than Nikola Jokic to figure that out.
We don't have to spend too much time. I do think it makes him better though, so that's one interesting thing. The move that's interesting, it does not appear as OG Anunoby has been moved.
The Raptors didn't do
move him.
anything.
Well, they bought. They
got-
purchased.
They got
Jakob
Jake
Poeltl.
Jakob Poeltl.
Everybody wanted Jakob Poeltl for
I mean,
some reason.
the OG thing just hit. It seems like it hit Toronto's bottom line was silly. OG is a potentially elite role player.
Yeah.
Very few teams want to pay a star package to get that,
I mean,
and that's fair, by the way.
like, would you pay a star package for Aaron Gordon right now, knowing how good he makes the Nuggets? So part of me is I agree with you, but part of it's like Memphis should have done what it took to get him, in my opinion. Like Memphis is the team to me that's like
you
fourth
want to
in
get
the
the
West.
Aaron Gordons on the deal that Denver got Aaron Gordon on. You don't want to be the team that's
Has Masai
that's
Ujiri
paying the
lost his
star
mojo?
package for OG.
I mean, he's lost something because they're about to lose Fred VanVleet for nothing. He's lost something.
They might come through. No, it's 21 minutes. I was going to say these are like 10, 15. They're never 21.
No, we're done
minutes.
here. We're done.
Sometimes there's 10 minutes late, but not more than that.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's good news because there were rumors that he could go to Golden State. There were rumors he can go to Memphis, and I think in
New Orleans.
New Orleans was the one team I thought it wouldn't have made sense. They have so many defensive wings. Dyson Daniels, Herb Jones are already really good. So I don't know. Either way, it doesn't matter. It didn't happen. And that's Denver dodged a bullet. What did happen, though, Gary Payton, on a smaller scale, Gary Payton went back to the Warriors.
That's hilarious.
It actually is.
Dude.
I don't know what's going on in Portland right now.
What's going on in Golden State?
What's going on in Golden State makes sense. They got rid of Wiseman, which I think
For
was
22nd rounders?
Hey, you want to talk about losing value?
What?
Like, that's like a mega
Yeah, that
Bones.
is-
I mean,
is-
we're talking
Bones
about
is the
we should have
25th
held
pick.
on to Bones Hyland for the summer. Why didn't they just? I don't know.
It really is the weirdest timing. But you want to know something? Wiseman was like, whatever player you want to say, where if you're like, if it just weren't for him, if you took it out, the numbers are good. And I think it's a little unfair, but not that unfair, that the Warriors got better by just being like,
It's insane.
throwing him away, essentially.
I cannot believe the plight of Wiseman. I was looking.
kinda can.
I mean, I just can't believe he's that inept as a player. Like, I
He's
mean,
just bad.
He's just bad, man.
It's
And also,
wild.
it was a dumb pick to begin with because he's like an offensive-minded, really childish, like very young, immature guy. And it's like, man, bigs who come in that are like immature usually stay that way for their time. JaVale McGee's and Dwight Howard's. There's not a lot of precedent of like those type of guys. And then on top of it, he was always bad defensively.
yeah,
This
which
idea
is crazy.
This idea that you're going to get a center who can't guard and is not that good on offenses was always whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
They got rid of him, and I think it makes him better, makes him more clear. But
Definitely.
they also got Gary Payton, who I think there are players, and it's going to be true of Denver as well. There are players that are better in Denver than anywhere else. There's going to be players that are better in Golden State than anywhere else. And Gary Payton's one of them. Why? Because he's atrocious on offense. He's atrocious.
Except against the Nuggets in the playoffs.
Except for against the Nuggets in the playoffs.
When
But he's
in the
atrocious
corner.
on offense, but you have a team that's like, it doesn't matter. They're so good on offense, you can afford it. So for me, I think the Warriors got better today.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I'm really glad they didn't get OG. As
That would have sucked.
The late smoke suggested they might. Well, first of all, Gary Payton II, it's like that guy maybe should have just been on the roster the whole time.
Did you see though that the Warriors saved $30 million in luxury tax payments at this deadline?
Maybe
Yeah.
So
Maybe they are light years
I'm
ahead.
saying, man, like,
Maybe that's a light years move. Drafting Wiseman was not, though. Have to acknowledge
you're
that.
right. You're
Have
right.
to-
That-
but
we can't give him too much credit.
I can't. To me, I mean, yes, Golden State is. I'm just not writing them off until they're eliminated. You know what I mean?
can't, yeah.
I'm just not doing it,
just can't
especially
do
after
it.
this
Their
trade.
problem was they only had six guys, because I count DiVincenzo as a guy I trusted. They had six guys, 6.5. Kuminga is a guy that sometimes you can count on.
No.
You're right.
Not-
6.5.
not circle trust.
I like
The
Kuminga. I actually
sum
like
bucket?
him. Jeez. But now they have 7.5 guys, and then like that's a meaningful amount, man. You might be able to win a title with 7.5.
You need
guys.
7 for sure.
8 probably, but 7 and 7.
Yeah.
For sure.
The Portland side of this to me is such a white flag wave. Do you know? Is that I have to check it out? I'm sure it's just to get under the
Gary
tax.
Payton's barely played this season though for them.
That-
He's
Well,
been
he was
hurt the
That's-
whole
he was
year.
hurt, but he just got back.
But
and he
give
was
up on
playing
him
well.
now to get Kevin Knox.
Yeah.
I mean,
He was.
what's
Here's the thing: Gary
point
Payton
of
was
that?
playing well, and the Blazers were not. And I don't know. That Blazers team is just not good, man. They're just not good.
Oh, they
Not-
got Matisse,
not
right?
surprised.
Did
They got
get
Matisse Thybulle. They also
whatever.
got Kevin Knox, which is like one of
That's
my
the thing.
least
I don't
favorite players.
understand what that-
To me, Kevin Knox is like Moutier, where there's
Yeah.
guys where you're like, man, they struggled, but they were so highly touted. It's like, yeah, that was a mistake. They're like Wiseman.
Kevin
It's true,
Knox.
it's
Kevin
true.
Knox. He passes the eye test when you're not watching him play. Just like when you're watching him get dressed.
Oh,
Just
because
like-
he's so tall
yeah.
and thin. And
when you're watching him in layup lines, he passes the eye
he
test.
looks so athletic and can shoot.
Yeah.
I think the Clippers also got better because they end up getting Mason Plumlee, which is like, it's funny to think about this, but one of the reasons I did not fear them in any capacity was because they had Zubats and no one else. And I just kept thinking like Moses Brown. And I kept thinking, Yoke murders Zubats. Yep. And then they have no one behind him. And it's even worse. You're going to have to go to...
he's going to murder Plumlee too.
Yes, but differently than he would, say, Marcus Morris or like the compromise of we don't have anybody there. This is what happened. Again, let's go back to that Blazers series. Yoke murdered Nurkic, but the Blazers still won when Nurkic was on the court. But every game he fouled out, and then they had to be like, I don't know, Carmelo Anthony, like whatever. And then it was curtains. Like the Nuggets went on 20-5 runs. I think that Plumlee will hold Jokic below the 20-5 run.
I don't.
Yeah,
he might not.
But I get what you're saying.
A better chance at least.
Look, he's got 6 fouls.
He's got 6 fouls to give you and size.
Yeah,
sure. They'll go quick though. Those fouls.
with him in particular.
I get what you're saying.
They also get rid of Reggie Jackson, but pick up Eric Gordon. I feel like Eric Gordon's that hard one because he's been in purgatory himself for so long that we're not exactly sure how good he still is.
Are you talking yourself into the Clippers again?
I just my point is that they got better. My point is that they got better. I've always said I like the Nuggets against the Clippers specifically. I have been firm on that.
Now that they got Eric Gordon.
But I'm just saying they got better. They got better.
They did.
My only point is they got better. They still didn't get better at the pick and roll, which is why I think Denver can beat them. Because I think any team that doesn't play pick and roll, then if you can't attack Denver's weakness, then Denver's strengths are better than yours. Dude. But they got better.
They made some good moves. I'm not worried.
The one thing that I think that we can really look at here is that the Denver Nuggets are still absolutely in the driver's seat when it comes to
careful. Yeah, maybe
when it comes to home court advantage in the playoffs. Playing in the city of Denver at altitude is something that the Nuggets have on their side. Nothing about any of the moves today based on the gap and the timing or whatever. I don't feel like the Denver Nuggets have lessened their grip on that number one spot at all. And that's going to be meaningful. Like even say we match up against Kevin Durant and all of the Phoenix Suns, like they have to come here. They have to come here for 7 games at worst. And you got to win 4 of them, and 4 of them will be here. So that is very meaningful.
The Grizzlies might have gotten better as well. Not as better as I expected, but their biggest problem was they couldn't score in the half court and they didn't have shooting. Well, they added Luke Kennard for Danny Green. How that fits, that's one of those moves where it's like, we'll see how it fits. Where do they play? What's their rotation? It changes a lot. But look, they had no shooters. Now they have one of the best in the game.
They did, but I actually think of all the teams out west who looks at the way today went and goes, yikes, I would say it's them.
I agree.
I would say it's them. Because I don't think they were where Denver was to begin with. I thought they had some catching up to do.
But everybody else sees Denver and Memphis the same.
I agree.
And so they'll view Denver that way.
That's true.
We disagree with them.
I earnestly disagree.
Yeah.
I think Memphis is the team that absolutely needed to get substantially better after the KD thing. I mean, Denver too, but more so Memphis, and they didn't.
Luke Kennard moved the needle for you with Memphis at all?
No.
No?
No.
Who was their second best shooter though prior to this? Conchar,
sure.
This is my point: is they didn't have one. Like, just giving you a second thing can be meaningful.
I'm not scared of Luke Kennard.
Okay. And then lastly, the Lakers got better. They were really bad, so it was hard for them to get worse. But they got rid of, again, their biggest anchor in Russell Westbrook, a player who Dave McMenamin says was a vibes vampire.
Holy smokes.
I'm telling you, man, I know you hate when I say this, but the LeBron camp is so dirty, man. So dirty. It took 10 seconds before Dave McMenamin came out and started.
I'd have no pushback on that. I have no pushback on
honestly,
that.
like
that's a fire quote.
Can you imagine, like right now, just if the with Denver, like the reports start coming out of like you just don't. I don't know.
It's true. No, it's a lot.
Bones was a vampire to this team.
The best part about that quote is
I mean, with how the fan base has taken it, it might not be the worst decision to leak some of that.
Yeah, to leak some of that.
McMenamin explained the analogy too. He's like a vampire, which means he's sucking the blood out of the locker room. You're like, yeah, no, I got it.
You're like, which means at some point in time, Tom Cruise will portray him.
But they did get, in my opinion, meaningfully better. That's another team that had no shooting. LeBron is still good. I mean, You talked about the chemistry thing with Phoenix. The one with the Lakers is the one where you're like, these guys are talented, but are they going to come together? I doubt it. But LeBron and AD pick and roll is still very hard to defend. We barely see it because they're never healthy together, but it's still very hard. And now you give them two of the best shooters over the last year, and D'Angelo Russell shooting 50% over the last 30 games, and Malik Beasley, who we all know makes open shots and loves to get shots up. Then you give him Jared Vanderbilt, which I actually feel like is a good move for everyone but Denver. If their plan is to play Wendy and Gabriel and Vanderbilt against Denver, come on, man.
They need to get another big man.
They need
if
to
they're
add-
going to be serious.
Well,
Thomas Bryant.
what about what about DeMarcus Cousins? I mean, they might be the buyout candidate for a DeMarcus Cousins player.
And they're the team that's what is he gonna do? Make it more LeBron-y
Yeah,
over there?
exactly.
Screw it. Just
So I don't know. The Lakers to me also got better, and they're the team of all of these ones that I look at and go man, that team was drawing dead. They were a 0 on the concern scale, and now they're not that high, but they're like a 10,
Yeah.
maybe a 20.
Out of 100?
Yeah. Well, Denver's good. Denver, we should count on
Yeah,
Denver.
yeah.
I mean, the Suns are to me a 60.
I mean, I'm
they're no team is
I'm like a 10 that I'm going to get hit by a car today,
Look, man.
which is actually pretty high. I'm going to be
the
playing
bottom
traffic.
line of today is the Nuggets entered today. I think you can as a team that you can still call the favorite in the West.
And they did get
They
Mo Bamba.
exited the day as a team that you can still call the favorite in the West.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. They're still right up there.
They're the favorite to you? I mean, they're not the DraftKings Sportsbook.
To me, yes, I still would pick the Nuggets coming out of the West. But I don't think they did not get worse today. The Nuggets they entered today. I think with the same ceiling as they exited today with. So I think the Nuggets even got a little better today.
The Nuggets, where do they fit in the Western Conference pecking order in your mind right now?
They're still number one. They're still number one.
they're
Who's
number
number two?
Phoenix.
Phoenix, yeah, for sure. Phoenix,
Pretty
then-
easily.
Yeah,
The
I would think
the
so.
West was wide open all year. Now it seems like it's a 2-horse race.
I'm really confused with what Dallas has. We obviously didn't see it. Kyrie looked really good. They looked really good last night. But
Kyrie is I think Kyrie is the most misanalyzed player in the NBA because you take the stuff that's very real about what he is as a character, and then you inject it into the basketball where it's
But
that
he's-
actually doesn't fit. He's really talented.
he's
as a
really,
basketball
really
player.
he's really talented. Memphis, yeah, there's a lot of confusion, but I do think it's a 2-horse race. I think it's Denver and Phoenix.
yeah. I mean, Phoenix has earned to leapfrog everyone and be right in that conversation. They do have to go do it though. They have work to do. It's a deadline move, and that team is significantly different. And Phoenix, by the way, even when for all their talent, at their very best, was a team that was firing on all cylinders, operated like a machine. You can lose some of that when you trade 2 glue guys. So they have work to do, and until they go out and show that they're better than the Nuggets have been definitively the best team out west.
Yeah.
You gotta take that from them. So
I am going to tell you, this is my final thought on the matter. I think Denver is second, and I like it because I actually think it's the place Denver is supposed to be.
All right.
I actually think there's something to it. We always talk with the Serbs when they're all, how do you feel about the Eurobasket? They rolled through the pool play. Oh, I don't like it. I don't like when we're the favorite. I always prefer the underdog. I kind of feel the same for Denver. I feel like this puts them at a spot where they're going to be the number 1 seed, but the second favorite in the West.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really, really great
Fraud
spot.
City's back.
Oh, it's a
baby.
great spot to be in because I'm with you. I think that Phoenix team is really good, but I think Denver can. The ideal of the Nuggets can be better than them. And now it's exciting because if they reach that ideal, it becomes so much more meaningful. It's no. Don't say they lucked up and won a bubble title. Don't say they just had an easy path and it was the Midwest and they got it there. Now you get to say, no, if they get there, if they get to the finals, you get to say, look at all the bodies on the floor, the LeBron, the KD, the Kawhi, the
They
Booker.
could go through Luka, LeBron, Kevin Durant, and then
Booker. And then, now you can look at it and say Denver is not hopeless against any team in the NBA. I mean, I don't care what you say. They're not hopeless against
they're
anybody.
one of the teams.
They're one of the teams, and it would be very gratifying to be able to get them. I do think if we go Phoenix number 1, Denver 2, I think the Clippers, I mean, you guys can see me, I think the Clippers are coming around and into form. I hate it. They're the most soulless team that's ever existed, and I get why you would doubt them, but they still are talented, and I think they are
They're talented for sure.
I think the Warriors are
about
actually, I'll
it.
go Warriors and then Clippers. Dallas is intriguing to me. I kind of want to see what it is. I mean, who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows what they are? And then, sadly enough, I hate to admit it, the Lakers to me are now in that conversation where Memphis is, where I'm like, they're good teams, man. Like they're just not. D'Angelo Russell and Malik Beasley given the requisite shooting that they were missing. And they still have LeBron, who's looking better and better as the months go by and the medicine kicks in. All right, what else do we have? What do we have? Some super chats?
I mean, I know somebody who had Kevin Durant acquisition didn't work for. It's the Brooklyn Nets. That was an absolute train wreck. They had 3 can't-miss superstars they paired together.
We got to find a way to get Kyrie to Phoenix then. I mean,
Oh,
I think
he's coming.
Yeah.
He's coming.
I think Kyrie's working on that as well.
All right, who can read?
Nate Franson wants us to know, with the information available, what is the logic behind the trade for such a low reward? It's baffling. I can't see any beyond being cowardly safe. I think we touched on it earlier, man. Like it clearly got so bad, behind the scenes or however you want to frame it. They felt like this trade needed to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to agree with it. It's just that's the reasoning.
Jacob McQueen, get Russ after the buyout, and it's a win.
Hell no.
Respectfully disagree.
How is that a win?
Hey, if you pay it, I'll say it.
Are you trying to win the Twitter impression award of the month?
Trying to win my downfall.
I'll tell you who would be the biggest loss for me personally,
Bro,
man.
if I just cheer for Russell Westbrook, if
there's
Boogie
nobody-
Cousins and Russell Westbrook in 1 year after the next, like I
actually like Russ as a character and as a team. I think he's actually good like that. But basketball wise, horrible fit, and also media wise, he's the biggest a-hole to media.
Well,
of
he's just
any
an
player.
a-hole in general, dude.
and he sucks.
He's the biggest. I can handle the a-holes to media, like whatever. Half of them are, but man, he's not a good basketball
he's
player.
good too. Yeah,
He's a terrible basketball player that's also a ball hog.
Oh,
Like,
this is going to really hit when he signs tomorrow.
bro, don't you? Oh my god.
Please get to the rest of the super chats. I'm sad. Scruffy the janitor. The difference. This asset tanked his own value.
I don't know what this in reference to, but it is true.
The difference between. I guess what was the other?
I don't remember
Nurkic,
who
but
it
he
was.
did it
Maybe-
too. So.
Nurkic,
Oh,
absolutely.
Nurkic, 100%. It's honestly the same.
It's the
There's a lot of parallels
similarities,
that we'll probably discuss in the coming
Except for
weeks.
that
There are a lot of
Nurkic got us a good player back.
and Mason
Yeah.
Plumlee, yeah.
That is true, actually.
Didn't get any second
You know what
rounders
though?
back
Here's
for
the thing.
Nurkic.
Here's the thing though that I think is underappreciated. The player you got back in the Bones Hyland trade is Christian Brown. He wasn't playing. He's really good. I know it's not the same. You still want to, from an asset management, get somebody back. But Christian Brown was not playing. Now he's playing, and he's really good.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Mixer. Hey, Wind, guess who was a second-round pick? Yeah, it was Jokic, dude.
Dude, slam it!
Wind.
Come on, Win!
Since you
Wake
said
up!
second-round picks mean nothing,
Come on, dude!
he felt that needed to be pointed out. He
Dude,
does love
dunk
it.
your head in the toilet, Win,
You
idiot.
idiot! He just got 2 Jokic's, bro.
Oh, man.
You don't know anything.
2 Jokic.
Why are we listening to Wind over here?
Get wrecked, you dickhead.
Tyler Peters. I'm happy for Bones. Love you, kid. Best of luck.
Yeah, man.
I can't say I'm happy for him. Like I'm
not. I'm not at all.
I love Bones. I can't.
I'm
say I'm
sad
happy
for
him.
us.
I'm sad for us too.
Mihailo. Improvement comes from within, and we have our guys. LFG.
I love that. It sounds true. It feels
It
true.
sure sounds
It
true.
sounds
I'll
so
repeat it this week a couple times. Daniel Walters, Bones leaving is the only evidence we had that
That
we
we
didn't
didn't
draft Dame Lillard.
It's
Damn
true.
it! It's so true.
It's true. It's been disproven.
It's been disproven. That is the grand difference.
KD gets
It's been
moved.
disproven
Dame
beyond
texts
a
Chris
measure
Haynes.
of a
Tell
doubt.
people I'm not available.
Man,
Okay, sorry. Malik Moore, why would we not be interested in a Beverly buyout? Gives another defensive option for a newfound bench identity for cheap. I don't know. You got
Beverly's actually a little interesting, I think.
No.
I think Beverly's interesting.
Wins intrigued.
I am intrigued by Beverly.
Oh my god! Aren't there any like people on death row we could bring in? Just like absolute low
Out of
character-
the big 3 point guards in the buyout market, Westbrook, Wall, Beverly, I'm definitely most intrigued by
Can you just bring
Beverly.
back Moutier or like what are you doing?
D-line man, go to Jimmy John's. Get yourself a nice sandwich.
I actually want to go there after
Get
this.
yourself something nice. William Mitchell. I watched my team wait 6 months to do a trade they should have done a while back, and the Suns got KD. I am slightly annoyed. If it helps, you won literally the last available title. William.
Yeah, that's true. You're the
Dude, I'm telling you, there's nothing that's the ultimate thing. The Mad Men line: "What's happiness? Just a moment before you need more
It's
heaviness."
so true, dude.
Dude, I'm telling you, nothing. If anybody that knows Warriors fans, I would never guess they would be as miserable as
They are miserable.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Tyler Peters.
it will soon.
I
Super
hope. I
chat.
can't wait to be that miserable.
2K viewers, 60 likes. It's now up to like 300 likes. Tyler, we're going to attribute that to you. Good stuff.
We had 2K viewers. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah,
I didn't even look.
Over 2K.
Is that 300
I've been
likes? or
so
200?
locked into this storytelling.
2020.
Yeah, hit the like, man. Give us a little like-a-roo.
Benjamin
It's
Heyman.
free.
How does Kevin Durant stack up with Jokic? 2 top 3 players, right?
Kevin
I mean,
Durant's not
well-
a top 3 player.
Oh, you're right. Dude. I mean, when you start to go into it, you got Giannis, Embiid. I mean, obviously Jokic, Giannis, Embiid, Curry, KD.
Yeah.
That's your top 5.
Luka?
Luka to me is probably 6.
Luka's a better player than Kevin Durant, bro.
He's a better floor raiser for sure.
I think Jokic is better. How
I
about
think
that?
Jokic is better. There we go.
How about that?
All right, there's the top 6,
Well,
and
that's
then,
for
and then
sure.
a drop
Yeah,
off.
I
Is
like
there
that.
another player we're forgetting?
I prefer the
Curry.
back-to-back MVP.
I put Curry in
Oh.
there, so that's there's a top 6 before you drop off to like the Tatum tier.
The Tatum tier.
James Passage opens box, adds Mile High City baby shirt next to Kemperner shirt,
Oh,
Kemperer
no.
shirt, Chris Harris Jr. jersey, and all my Colorado Rockies gear.
Oh,
I'm so sorry, James.
You know what? You could wear the bone shirt. It's cool.
It is a cool shirt.
Dia de los Muertos is coming up.
You could argue its value just went up.
Yeah, you could argue that.
Yeah.
Although I would check.
You'd be wrong.
Well, I mean,
I would
currently
check
it's
the-
valued at 2 second rounders.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah, I would check the locker in a few days. I would say that the value will not go
I'll
up.
give you a couple of mittens.
We've
for
raised the
that shirt.
price on our Bones Hyland t-shirts.
You
It's
know?
now worth 3 second rounders.
You know, the last time Jokic played Plumlee, he dropped 40, 27, and 10. Plumlee had 5 fouls in 19 minutes. So, yeah, I'm not worried.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to understand that it is with the thing you're trying to avoid is Anthony Davis playing the 5 if you're the Lakers, and this allows him to do that a little bit better.
Isn't he on the Clippers, though?
What's that?
Isn't he on the Clippers, though?
Oh yeah, it was Clippers. You're right. Yeah, it was Clippers. Yeah, who are they got then as their help?
Cousins
Nobody.
is who the Lakers are going to get.
Yeah, Cousins
They're
will
totally
be the guy.
gonna
Darren
They're
Collison.
totally getting it. That's the 100%.
Okay.
That
Bring
team-
Dwight
Darren
Howard over
Collison
from
is out there
Taiwan.
somewhere. Let's just go find him. But at the end of the day, Brown over Bones can't be too mad.
I like that. I like
We
that
could have done
energy.
that without
Brown is
the
just so
trade, but yes.
I think that's the
Brown,
point,
Brown
yeah.
is just so like I am excited for the Brown era.
You're ready for the brownout?
Fernando Parra. Nuggets still got the best starting 5, and Brown.
Yes, they
and
do.
Brown and Bryant and Vlaco and Zeke are solid. Bring on the Suns and others, because Nugs are winning it all.
Gonna be sweet if they do. I'm sitting here talking as we're reading these super chats to AJ Hafley, who just covered a Stanley Cup championship Avs team.
Yeah,
and
what's he upset about?
No, he's actually
Oh.
telling. He's watching us, saying, "What are you guys so upset about?" And his note to me here is that championship teams need everyone, even the end of bench guys, pulling the rope in the same direction. And I honestly think it's an underrated comment. And like I think Calvin Booth, I do think this is part of his calculus. Just in talking to him, like some of his calculus is he knows the value of. It takes every little ounce of your team to be of the same mind and like thinking the same thing, doing the same thing, feeling the same thing, and whatever. And whether or not Bones could have been salvaged in that case, forget it. It's over. It's done with. But I do think that there is a better chance than ever that the Nuggets have 15 guys that are all pulling in the exact same direction for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And I think that it's underappreciated how important that can be for a team that's at this stage.
You know, one reason Calvin Booth knows that because he was one of those guys
Yeah, 100%.
at the end of the bench.
Yeah.
Totally. I think it's just that you feel like along the potential timeline of Bones in Denver to wind up with, regardless of whose fault it is, to wind up with what they were wound up with feels disappointing. But I think the dynamic you describe is in play.
And here's one thing we'll always learn. When you're on a good team with a great culture, does everybody look a little bit better? And there's a feeling right now of Nuggets don't have a lot of draft picks because they've traded away so many to get here. This idea of like, where are you going to get the next wave of talent? It just might be that whatever players you bring in here are 40% better, a la Bruce Brown, a la KCP, and a la maybe even Christian Brown, where it's like, hey, Denver's going to end up adding. Peyton Watson has a better chance of panning out now because he's going to be in this culture, in this system, and they'll add other pieces that have a good chance of just becoming the 7th and 8th best players.
The next wave of talent, I mean, yeah, that stuff will matter a little bit here and there. What really matters is if the Nuggets stay healthy, and if Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr.,
Of course.
Aaron Gordon, and KCP ball out in the playoffs, like that's really what matters. If your big guys come up for you,
Most assuredly.
that's what matters.
Most
in the end.
assuredly. But I do think that because there is a lot of talent being pooled, that it then does become important for all of the team. All of the margins become all the more important. And I just pray, as I always do, to the very benevolent basketball gods whom I revere and would never cross, that the Nuggets do not find themselves in a position where they're like, oh my God, we need a backup point guard.
All right. Nuggets still have Jokic. I'm excited for it. And we're going to be back right here watching Jokic play against
There's
the
more
Orlando
super chats,
Magic. Oh, wait, we have 2 more?
S. Williams looking for some
Hell
trade
yeah.
grades, post-trade vibes. He likes Thomas Bryant. So do I, man. I think that's a good trade.
Thomas Bryant, hey.
That's a good trade.
Bones Hyland.
What else we got?
Not good.
Second round picks greater than Zach Collins still.
Hey man, at least we did not get Zach Collins.
Yeah, I'm with that.
That's an
hates
A.
Zach Collins. It's so funny.
Can you imagine
Give that
swapping
an A.
Bones for Zach Collins?
That's the ultimate vibes, like tough
Did I just
vibes.
become
Sort
a
of.
Portland fan?
Maybe
No
Thomas,
Malachi Flynn, no Zach
is
Collins.
Thomas Bryant like really cool and fun and hilarious or something? Like,
Oh.
He's not Zach Collins.
all right. Well, there you go. All right, everybody. We're going to be right back here in just a couple hours previewing the Nuggets as they take on the Orlando Magic in the new era of the Denver Nuggets. Hit that like button one last time for us on the way out, guys. We'll see you in a couple hours.